HTTP request is a message that is sent from the browser to server. For example, I am the browser. I am asking you something. Hey server, please give me a book. Please give me a page. So these are all the requests in general. Similarly, the browser, that is the client, will send a message to the server asking for something. So that is called as HTTP request technically. This is the internal format of the HTTP request that is automatically prepared by the browser and will be received by the server. The request start line contains the method and then space, URL and then space, HTTP version. The request methods are the type of the requests. Sometimes the browser seeks the information, sometimes the browser sends the information. So to represent appropriate intention of the request, different methods are defined. Generally, you may heard about GET, POST. There are some other type of requests also, such as PUT and DELETE. We will have a separate lecture for the request methods. So for time being, you can consider the method as GET or POST. Then after that, you will be having the URL. The URL is used to locate the particular information on the server. For example, there is a website something like udemy.com. If you want to see the courses page, then the URL will be /courses, means begin with a slash. Otherwise, if you want to contact the customer care, then the URL may be like /support. So the URL indicates the location of the information that you want to retrieve. And of course, after that, there is HTTP version. It can be 1, 2 or 3. By default, it is HTTP 1.1. Then after the first request start line, you can see the request headers. These also key value pairs much like response headers, but the difference is it is in opposite direction. That is, the request headers are sent from browser to server, whereas response headers are sent from server to browser. So they are opposite direction each other. Then after that, there is empty line just for separation of the request body to separate from the request body to the request headers. And this is the request body, actual information that browser wants to send to server. The biggest difference between GET and POST is that in case of GET request, request body will not be there, means the request body empty. But whereas the POST request would contain request body. Anyways, we will try to find out the differences between the GET and POST in later video. You can experience the request here. So I just run the application and open the Developer Tools Network tab. And over here, you can see the request headers. First, there is general and then response headers. And below of that, you can see the request headers. So if you just click on View Source button over here, you can see the raw format of the request. This is the raw or original format of the request that is sent by the browser to server. This is the request start line, which indicates either it is GET request or POST request. By default, it is GET request. Then after that, this slash indicates the URL. That is, this slash is equivalent to localhost :6734. That is the port number. In case next time when you enter the different URL, for example, here in this location bar, I am entering a different URL. Let's say hello. So when I make request for this and click on that URL, now again come to request headers, click on view source. Now in the same place, instead of single slash, you can see /hello. That indicates the URL that is present after the port number. So whatever the URL that you have entered in the location bar, that will be represented here, except localhost and port number. And then after that, this is the HTTP version number. By default, it is HTTP 1.1. That is the standard. Optionally, you can configure or enable HTTP 2 or 3 in your code. That is a different topic, so ignore it. So after this request start line, now below you can see request headers. These are all the request headers that are sent by the browser to server, which indicates the host, connection, and so many others. These are automatically prepared by the browser and sent to server. These will be read by the server automatically, and as a developer, you are eligible to read these request headers programmatically. We will try that in the next lecture, so hold it. Then actually, after completion of the request headers, that is here, there will be some empty line and then the request body follows. Of course, by default, the Chrome doesn't show the request body, but the original request would contain request body. Again, of course, the GET request would not contain the request body. As soon as the request has been received by our server, that is Kestrel, Kestrel forwards the same request information to ASP.NET Core. Then ASP.NET Core automatically prepares a context object which contains all the details of the request, including the request start line and headers. Of course, request body as well. So you can find the request details in the context object in code. For example, in the same app.run method, we are writing context dot, that means HTTP context dot, request object. So this request object will contain the information about the request, which includes the start line as well as request headers and request body as well. The complete information about the request. You can read those details one by one. For example, you can try write request dot path. So this will give you the path that is present in the request body. So this path property gives you the request URL that is present in the request start line. You can get the same here into a string variable because the data type of this path property is by default path string. So it is compatible with string type. Let me include that here in a paragraph tag. As we are given the HTML response, we are given the content type text by HTML. So we are populating the value of the path variable, that is context.request.path. So that request.path property gives you the URL that is present here after the method name. Let me show that. Ctrl+Shift+I and then refresh and click on the request on localhost. So if you can scroll down to request headers and click on view source, in the request start line you can see the path that is here. So the same information can be read by using request.path property. For example, if you try making a request to a different path, other -path or something, whatever you want. So now in the same place, request headers, view source. Now the URL is other path. So this particular URL will be read programmatically by using request.path. And the same is present in the response body, as you can see. You can also check the condition. For example, if the path is equal to path1, then do something, otherwise do other thing. You can write such code. Okay, we are not doing that right now, but that is the purpose behind it. Similarly, you can read the request method, either get or post, whatever, by using context.request.method property. So this will give you the request method, either get or post or put or patch, whatever. And for information, let me add the same in the response.writeAsync. Oops, here it is method. So check it out. By default, browsers make GET request. So in the view source of the request, you can see that we are making a GET request. The same will be read programmatically there by using request.method. And that is received as response, as you can see. And the same is visible in the page. So you will programmatically read the request method by using request.method property. Of course, you can write some condition. For example, if method equal to get, then do something, otherwise do other thing. You can write such code. But how can you send data values from the browser to server? For example, I would like to send my username or ID or something. So to send any kind of values from browser to server, there is a possibility, that is query string in the GET request. We will try that in the next lecture.